Your cat isn't just being quiet. They're trying to tell you something. Most people think silence means calm, that everything is fine, that their cat is simply resting, relaxing, or growing older. But sometimes, when your cat suddenly becomes quiet around you, it's not peace, it's observation. They're watching, listening, waiting. And what this silence really means, especially if it happens out of nowhere, might surprise you. Because your cat doesn't use words to express confusion, discomfort, or emotional change. They use behavior, small shifts, subtle patterns, and quietness is one of the most misunderstood signals they have. At first, it may seem harmless, but the deeper meaning often reveals itself slowly. And by the end of this, you might see your cat's silence in a completely different way. The first thing to understand is that quietness can be your cat's way of scanning the environment. You walk into the room, your cat is there, still, calm, watching. They don't greet you like they used to. They don't meow. They don't move toward you. Instead, they sit in silence. This doesn't always mean fear. It often means uncertainty. Cats are deeply sensitive to emotional changes. They notice shifts in routine, tone of voice, body language, even the energy you carry after a long day. When something feels different, they become quiet to gather information. They are trying to understand what changed. And here's where it gets deeper. Sometimes, your cat becomes quiet because they're protecting themselves emotionally, not from danger, from disappointment. If you've been busier lately, more distracted, coming home later than usual, your cat notices. They feel the distance, even if you never meant to create it. So instead of reaching out the way they once did, they hold back. They become quieter, more careful, more reserved. It's not punishment, it's self-protection, because connection to your cat is not automatic. It's built on consistency, predictability, trust. And when that pattern shifts, even slightly, your cat may retreat into silence while they figure out if the bond is still safe. But that's not the most important part. There's another reason your cat may suddenly become quiet around you, and most people completely miss it. Sometimes, silence is your cat's way of calming themselves. You might notice it after a stressful event, a loud noise, a visitor, a change in the home. Your cat doesn't always run or hide. Some cats do the opposite. They become still, quiet, withdrawn. This is called emotional regulation. Instead of reacting outwardly, your cat turns inward. They slow their movements, reduce their sounds, conserve their energy. They create silence as a shield. And if you interrupt that process too quickly, by picking them up, calling their name repeatedly, or forcing interaction, you may accidentally increase their stress. Because in that moment, your cat isn't ignoring you. They're trying to restore their sense of control. Most people miss this next one. Sometimes, quietness is not about stress at all. It's about trust. When a cat feels completely safe in your presence, they don't always need to make noise. They don't need to announce themselves. They don't need to demand attention. They simply exist beside you. You might be working, watching something, sitting in silence, and your cat stays nearby, calm and quiet. This kind of silence is not distance, it's comfort. Your cat knows you're there, and that knowledge is enough. But here's where the meaning becomes more personal. If your cat used to be vocal, playful, expressive, and then suddenly becomes quiet only around you, that pattern matters. Cats rarely change behavior without a reason. They don't wake up one day and decide to act differently. Something shifted in their world. It could be routine, it could be environment, it could be emotion, or it could be you, not because you did something wrong, but because your presence is the center of their emotional map. They read you constantly, your mood, your attention, your availability. And when those signals change, your cat adapts, sometimes quietly. And here's where it gets even deeper. There is one situation where sudden quietness becomes a message you should never ignore. When your cat withdraws not just from sound, but from connection. They stop greeting you. They stop following you. They stop responding to familiar routines. The silence becomes heavier, longer, more distant. This can signal emotional distress, illness, or discomfort that they cannot explain. Cats are masters at hiding pain. In the wild, showing weakness makes them vulnerable. So instead, they reduce movement, reduce attention. They become quiet, not to rest, but to survive. If your cat's silence is paired with changes in eating, sleeping, grooming, or energy levels, it's not just behavior, it's communication. And ignoring it can allow small problems to grow into serious ones. But even outside of health concerns, there is one final truth about your cat's quietness that most people never realize. Silence is often a reflection of emotional distance. Not rejection, not anger, distance. If your life becomes busier, louder, more unpredictable, your cat may slowly step back. Not dramatically, not suddenly, quietly. They stop asking for attention. They stop initiating play. They spend more time observing than interacting. And over time, that silence can become a new normal. Until one day, you realize the connection feels different. Less warm, less close, less alive. But here's the part that changes everything. Silence is not permanent. Cats are incredibly responsive to emotional signals. When you return to consistent routines, gentle interactions, calm presence, they notice. They begin to trust again. And slowly the quietness fades. A soft meow returns, a gentle head bump, a familiar sound in the hallway, not because you forced it, but because you rebuilt the feeling of safety. So the next time your cat suddenly becomes quiet around you, don't assume nothing is happening. Look closer. Notice the timing, the pattern, the small changes around it. Because to your cat, silence is never empty. It's a message, a question, sometimes even a quiet request for reassurance. And how you respond to that silence can shape the bond between you for years to come. Because to your cat, this was never just a habit.